Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all of you lovely people. Welcome to another show, another episode on 12th Man, and I'm going to dedicate this one to Arsenal. I'm going to dedicate this one to Arsenal's goalkeeping situation because it needs discussing. There's a lot of talk about where Arsenal are at in terms of the number one, number two, and we're going to bring in a third choice goalkeeper very, very soon. We're going to talk about what Mikel Arteta's vision is in relation to the goalkeeping situation at Arsenal. We're going to talk about the players that are linked with Arsenal this summer and what the new look may be like. When it comes to Arsenal goalkeepers, let's be real, have been bought in pretty much every single summer. We've looked at the number ones, we've looked at the number twos, we've looked at a combined not having a number one and number two in the Ramsdale and Raya era. We've looked at what I thought was probably the best goalkeeper that we had when Mikel Arteta arrived here in Emi Martinez. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what the vision might be, what the future of Arsenal goalkeepers look like, and what the kind of, I suppose, vision of Mikel Arteta and the coaching staff is as Arsenal goalkeepers being 1, 2, and 3. And the reason I keep saying 1, 2, and 3 is because there's clearly been a discussion behind the doors to talk about with the coaching staff what this might look like. And I think this vision will be completely different to what we've seen previously. I do think that there's been a lot of discussion around what potentially has been learnt from the last season and maybe more in relation to David Raya and Aaron Ramsdale. And we're going to discuss that a little bit more. So do me a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We're not very far off of 21k. We're on the way to 30k. But make sure that you do enjoy this content, that you like and subscribe, because it's two things that are free and it really does take the channel to a new level. So big up to all of you that are here in the house. We're going to talk all things Arsenal. We're going to talk about the goalkeeping scenario. It's clear to see the goalkeeping position has never been a settled position and has never been a department of Mikel Arteta's favourite position at the club. I think a lot of people will say that there's been quite a lot of change when it comes to the goalkeeping scenario. And I do believe that there's an opportunity here for Arteta and Arsenal to potentially put that right. Now, the reason I say that is because I do feel that there's been a lot of chop and changing in the goalkeeping position at Arsenal. And I think that what we need is some sustainability. I think what needs to happen is there needs to be a clear number one and a clear number two. And if you've got a third choice goalkeeper that you're bringing into the mix, that's absolutely fine. But we need to see what that looks like. And that's what we're here to discuss. So when Mikel Arteta arrived, Emi Martinez was breaking into the team. Now, Leno had a bad injury, if you remember. And I think that was the first opportunity we got to see of a goalkeeper at Arsenal that was probably seen as the modern day goalkeeper. Somebody who was good with his feet, somebody who could play out from the back, somebody who had good distribution, somebody I feel who had command of his area. And I was really surprised that he decided to stick with Leno and then sell Emi Martinez. Now, I understood at the time why Emi Martinez wanted first team football, but I have no kind of qualms about the fact that he'd left. But there's no denying he would have stayed at Arsenal if he was promised first team football. Unfortunately, it wasn't able for that. Now, I do believe as well there's an understanding of why Leno and Martinez might have wanted to be upgraded upon. And I think that that was then Aaron Ramsdale's turn to step forward. So where are we now? Well, we wind back to what this season will look like. And we, of course, have our number one goalkeeper. We all know what our number one goalkeeper is going to look like. And it is in the form of David Raya. We have signed him now, £30 million in total, £3 million last year on loan, £27 million added this summer. He is going to be the number one at Arsenal. There is no doubt about it. David Raya caused quite a lot of concern and confusion around whether he deserved to be number one ahead of Aaron Ramsdale, whether it should have been the opportunity given to him. The way that it was dealt with by Mikel Arteta, I think, was definitely criticised. Bombing Aaron Ramsdale out of the side, allowing David Raya to become that number one and play majority of the games for the rest of the season. Aaron Ramsdale made 6 appearances in the season just gone, and I believe will probably be looking to go and get first team football elsewhere. But when you look at what Aaron Ramsdale has done at Arsenal, I actually do think for the last couple of seasons, it's been nothing short of impressive. Yes, we see last season there was some mistakes, but David Raya made them as well. I'm a fan of Aaron Ramsdale. Do I think he's good enough to take Arsenal across the line for a title? Probably not, but I still have my concerns over David Raya. What I will say is that Aaron Ramsdale can hold his head high when he leaves, if he leaves, to go and get first team football. He will be admired and remembered at Arsenal fondly. He had 2 seasons where I thought he was very good, got into the player of the team of the season for one of them, and also made some world class saves, it has to be said. I think we should get good money for Aaron Ramsdale. And I think there is a clear understanding of why Mikel Arteta has put David Raya in the number one position. And I want to compare the stats. Now, this is maybe a little bit unfair because, of course, you have the stats of Raya and Ramsdale last season, but they only played, Ramsdale only played 6 games. So when you look at the comparison, the minutes played on the pitch, along with the matches that they played, David Raya has pretty much won in every single stat. And a lot of it is passing out from the back and using his feet. Now, a lot of people will say, well, modern day goalkeepers, they still need to use their hands. Absolutely, they do. But when you look at what Raya is doing, you can understand now why Mikel Arteta has brought him in. And I do believe that Mikel Arteta is actually correct if this is what he wants to judge his goalkeeping on. Because if you want to judge your goalkeepers on these stats, then David Raya is the better goalkeeper. You see there by passes and successful passes. You see by the pass completion. You see by the pass accuracy. The long ball passes in particular and the success of those long ball passes. The amount of touches that he was having now, David Raya, particularly the whole of last season. There were times where he was basically one of our centre-backs, wasn't he? He was used to be kind of another outfield player when the ball was in possession. Gabriel and Saliba in front of him, using him with confidence, particularly with the ball at his feet. And although I didn't think his distribution and kicking was outstanding throughout, I did and could see why Mikel Arteta was looking at those attributes ahead of somebody like Aaron Ramsdale. Now, you look at the stats there, he is clearly better in every department in terms of that attribute. But I do think that there are some attributes that Aaron Ramsdale would 100% look at and say, yeah, it's unfair for the stats to go against him to make him look like a bad goalkeeper. That's not where we're at here. We're not saying that Aaron Ramsdale was not good enough for Arsenal Football Club. We were saying that he wasn't going to lead us to a title and that we felt there was better up there. Now, if you believe that David Raya is not an upgrade, that's absolutely fine to have that debate and argument. I can't sit there and say that he is or he isn't. But what I will say is that I still think there is potentially better than David Raya and Aaron Ramsdale out there that should be the number one. And I feel that there is a potential for Arsenal to look at this opportunity of goalkeeping and say, do you know what? Maybe it's time for Arsenal to go and upgrade to a Diogo Costa. Maybe it's time for a Jan Oblak. Maybe it's time for a Michael Mannion. But it looks like David Raya is number one. Certainly Aaron Ramsdale at the moment is number two, but there's probably rumours and strong rumours to link him with a move away. I want to take at least 30 million for Aaron Ramsdale. They've stated that they want nearer 50. That's probably unrealistic in my opinion, but I think he can go and have a first team football career with someone in the Premier League and have a good career as a footballer and as a goalkeeper. So let's see what happens. We need to look at who the backup's going to be. And I think Mikel Arteta has learned from his mistakes in relation to why a choice of 2 goalkeepers that believe their first choice isn't going to work. I always knew that this was either going to end in tears or end in failure. And if I'm honest with you, I can't say it's ended in failure because both goalkeepers still seem happy at Arsenal. But let's be real. Aaron Ramsdale knows he's not number one and knows he's going to have to move out of Arsenal to go and get first team football. So that's what I believe is going to happen. So who do we bring in? There's going to be a number 2. And for me, there's going to be a clear number 2. Some people might think this is going backwards in terms of somebody worse than Aaron Ramsdale. But the player that we are quite heavily linked with, along with Liverpool actually, is Juan Garcia. 23-year-old Espanyol goalkeeper. And he at the moment is being rumoured to leave. The price they're saying is around about £20 million. That's fair for a goalkeeper. But what I would throw back at them is, how much is Ramsdale really worth then? Because he's better than Juan Garcia. And he's a goalkeeper that's English, that's young, that can grow, and that can actually, along with being Premier League proven, improve the Premier League team. So maybe we should be looking for 35 to 40 million, like people are saying that they want at Arsenal. Let's have a look now at what we believe could be the backup goalkeeper, Juan Garcia. Now, let's be real, we don't know much about him. I didn't know how heavily we were linked with him. At the time that we were linked with him, it wasn't clear whether Ramsdale was staying or going or how easy it would be to sell Aaron Ramsdale. But Juan Garcia will come in and be a clear number 2. I don't think there's any rivaling David Raya's shirt. I think Mikel Arteta has made it clear. And Garcia, Justin Bilo, Jason Steele, some of these guys that we've been linked with have made it quite clear, according to reports, that they would be happy to come and sit on the bench at Arsenal as the first start and then try to force their way in to the number one jersey. Now, Aaron Ramsdale, it was the complete opposite. Aaron Ramsdale expected to be the number one and expected David Raya to be the number two and have to force his way in. Unfortunately, David Raya was given the number one jersey. Now, whether you think that was right or wrong, it wasn't what I don't believe Aaron Ramsdale was believing would be the case. So for me, that is, I would say, the difference here. I think whoever we bring in knows David Raya is number one. They've got no doubt in their mind that they'll be on the bench and having to force their way in. So the vision at the moment is that we're not going to no longer have these goalkeepers fighting for places. There's going to be a clear number one and a clear number two. Now, unfortunately, the downside of that is we're kind of going backwards to the days of Ramsdale and Matt Turner. We're going back to the days even further than that of Leno and Runnison, if you remember. I don't think we've had a goalkeeper in the Emirates era that I can say has been world class. Like, real talk. We have to go back to our hybrid days of David Seaman and Jens Lehmann to believe that we had a world-class goalkeeper, because Peter Cech wasn't world-class when he came to Arsenal. He was kind of in the decline as a footballer. Aaron Ramsdale, I've never believed is world-class, and I certainly don't think that David Raya is. I don't think Ospina or players such as Emi Martinez at the time, or the likes of Wojciech Szczesny, Almunia, Fabianski. Arsenal had a lot of goalkeepers that I don't believe are world-class level. And I still have that question mark over whether we can allow a goalkeeper to come in and be that number one. I really feel like there could be an opportunity for us to get that number one goalkeeper that you think around the world, wow, that's their Alisson or Edison. And I don't know that David Raya is that guy. So that's my question mark over it, and that's my concern. Shaitanya's saying that Emi is world class. Yes, he is now, but I don't think he was when he was at Arsenal. He was hardly playing. He got forced into the side because of Leno. So Jens Lehmann, yeah, he had one season at the Emirates. He's probably the best we've had. And he was told that he wasn't good enough, and Almunia came in by Wenger. So we need a goalkeeper that's going to be a number one. But interestingly, to close, we're going to be looking at a third choice goalkeeper. Now, the reason we're looking at this, in my opinion, is for one reason and one reason only. It's not because we need three goalkeepers because of the amount of competitions we're playing. It's not because number one and number two need to have a third choice on their shoulders. It's not, in my opinion, the reason that we have three goalkeepers that we just don't know which one to select. It's because of the homegrown quota. And we've had two options, haven't we? One of them is this guy from Wolves, Dan Bentley. Now, Dan Bentley, we kind of insulted when we offered £50,000 and Wolves said no. Since then, we've moved on and we believed that it's not going to be a deal that we can strike. Now, let's be real. What's happened is Wolves have become so insulted to just say, look, don't bother coming back. Dan Bentley's probably lost a bit of interest by saying, 50,000? Do they really want me? And we've now moved on. Now, the player that we've moved on to is the Ajax youngster, Tom Setford. Now, Tom Setford is the under-20s goalkeeper for England, and he's 18 years old. We've managed to strike a deal around about £1 million in total if you put it all together as a package. And he's seen as a big talent over in Amsterdam. He was born there. He is English, but he will be the third choice goalkeeper at Arsenal, and he will be selected as a homegrown quota player for the Champions League and, of course, the Premier League. So this makes total sense. This will be a third choice goalkeeper. So when people have started losing their heads about, oh my God, Arsenal is signing this goalkeeper and they think that's what they need, it's rubbish. This is going to be the third choice goalkeeper for Arsenal. And who knows where it will lead. Nobody is aware of how good he is yet. He's obviously highly rated by Arsenal, by Ajax, and he's a player that has been very, very happy and willing to go to Arsenal and fight for what he believes is a place. But this is where the word vision comes along, because we're being told that he has seen and had a discussion of the vision of his playing career at Arsenal with Mikel Arteta. Now, we've seen and heard this before, that Mikel Arteta has had a vision about a player or a position or a department, and it hasn't worked out or it has worked out. He's seen players trying to invert. He's seen players in midfield that play in the different system. He's seen a left eight that is more box to box. We've seen that come into play. We've seen false nines. We haven't really seen an out and out nine. But the goalkeeper vision at the moment looks to be that we have a third choice goalkeeper for the first time in a while that we've actually signed. Now, most of the time, you buy your goalkeeper, you get your backup, and you use one of the youth players as your third choice. But for some reason, they've looked at that and believed that this is the way forward and that Setford has to come in now and be that guy that could be the third choice goalkeeper. Now, that's going to allow for the homegrown quota. That's going to allow for him to develop. And actually, when you look at it, it probably makes sense. He's a young player. He's going to have an understanding of where his position is at the club. He's not going to be expecting to play games. He's going to come in and sit and hold bench potentially if one of the goalkeepers gets injured. And I think he'll see the opportunity to sit, learn, and watch. And if he does get to a stage where potentially he gets to his 20s and he's still not finding his way into the Arsenal bench, then he can look to push for a move. So this one makes sense, to be honest with you. I don't know why people are losing their heads over this one. This one is just a third choice goalkeeper that Arsenal are buying. Get this one done quickly, and then we can move on to the other areas of the squad that we need. So I wanted to do a short video on this one and just explain what my thoughts are on the goalkeeping situation, how I do believe that we still need a number one, how I do believe that Aaron Ramsdale will be sold, and how I actually am quite disappointed that although we are downgrading on Aaron Ramsdale, that at least there's an understanding that we now have a clear number one, a clear number two, and we have a third choice that can come in if need be, that is homegrown, that can grow and develop with the side. So that's where I'm at. People, do me a favor, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. We're trying to get as best we can up to 30K. So make sure that you're a part of this community by doing that. Like and subscribe is absolutely free. So make sure you do that. I'll be back tonight at 9 p.m., but I'll be on the Highbury squad with Sophie. And then tonight, after that show, I'll be doing something on here in relation to all things Arsenal transfers. So make sure that you do that. We will see you next time. Take it easy. And as always, up the Arsenal, people.